2, 1, record. What's up, everybody? For those who don't know, my name is Adam, aka DJ Costa, aka PunkVid619, aka Cali Coaster on YouTube. I'm here to do a video / podcast with visual. I've been posting vlogs recently on my channel relating to a specific incident involving a roller coaster that recently opened at Universal's Epic Universe in Orlando, Florida, Stardust Racers, where unfortunately a guest on September 17th, 2025, not even 6 months after the coaster opened to the public, ended up dying while riding the coaster.
To all the guests currently waiting to experience Cali Coaster Adventure's latest thrill, for your safety, we ask that you please stay off those air gates. Loading gates opening, stand back, stand clear. Welcome. Please watch your step as you enter the ride vehicle at this time. Please secure all loose articles. Leave them in the cubbies if you do not have a non-rider to leave them with. There are no loose articles allowed aboard this ride. Once you're seated, go ahead and secure those restraints. Keep your head back. Sit upright. Hold on tight. Clear 1, clear 2, all clear. Dispatch, enjoy your ride.
Now, there are certain knowns, certain things that have come out. Some things were brought out publicly at the time of the incident. I'm not saying that people who are confined to wheelchairs should not be able to experience some of the fun and joys that more able-bodied individuals are able to experience, such as roller coasters, theme parks, thrill rides. What I'm saying is there is an inherent risk involved, even for able-bodied and non-disabled individuals, when it comes to experiencing these attractions. Roller coasters like Stardust Racers expose your body to extreme G-forces, which go beyond the scope of what our bodies were designed to normally withstand. And because of this, you assume risk of possible injury when riding these coasters, especially when the coaster is operating as designed and operating under normal circumstances, which it had been determined that Universal Epic Universe operated the ride within the standards that manufacturers and designers allowed for. And because certain people may experience more complicated outcomes of riding these attractions, theme parks and amusement parks, even small parks, started putting out what are called fun and safety guides at the entry ride to every attraction, letting people know what they're going to be exposed to during the course of the ride. And this information is also posted on theme park paper guides as well as on their websites. So you should know beforehand, before you even get into the queue line for that attraction, what you should expect to experience during the course of your ride. And at that point, since they made the information available, it is up to you to determine whether or not you feel that it is safe for you to participate. Certain physical limitations are outlined, such as back, neck, bone injuries, recent illness, expectant mothers, and those who are prone to motion sickness or dizziness, or those who cannot handle extreme forces. All of that is outlined on those fun and safety guides. The park makes it available to everybody. It's not a secret. They don't hide this information. They make it available, and they make it available with the expectation that you're going to read and agree to those terms. Now, when you purchase your theme park ticket, on the back I don't know about the digital versions now that come out, but I'm pretty sure they also include this verbiage where it states that you assume all risk and liability by entering the park. You agree to abide by the park rules and guidelines, basically saying it's an unwritten contract by entering the park that you agree to follow their rules and guidelines, which includes those fun and safety guides that are posted at the entrance of every attraction. That is part of their rules and guidelines, as well as the actual official list of park rules. It even states on most of those park rule lists that you agree to abide by all safety standards and procedures outlined by the park. Again, the safety procedures and that stuff is the fun and safety guide that is posted at the attraction. So if you choose not to follow that, or if you feel like it doesn't apply to you and you end up getting injured, getting sick, I'm sorry, but the responsibility lies with you. We live in a society where people are quick to point fingers in other directions other than at themselves when things happen, when things go wrong, rather than looking and seeing, was there something that I did that caused this situation? Was there something that my friend did that caused this situation? Was there something that my family did that caused this situation? We're looking outside rather than within for explanations, when oftentimes the simplest explanation is looking at you in the mirror every morning when you get up and you're getting ready for your day. So with that being said, it was recently announced, most of you probably watching this on the day where this event is taking place, Universal did announce that they are reopening Stardust Racers on Saturday, October 4th, 2025, almost 2.5 weeks following this unfortunate incident with Mr. Zavala. And the reason that they are comfortable announcing the opening of the attraction is because every inspector, every test, everything that they had done to try to figure out what went wrong has led them to the conclusion that it was not a ride-specific incident. It was not a mechanical malfunction. It was not an operator error. It was not a loose part of the ride that caused these injuries. And I know especially Mr. Crump does not want to hear this, but it does sound like the disability that Kevin Zavala has been living with, which unfortunately he was born with atrophy of the spinal cord, which means that he has very limited muscle control. We don't know the extent of the atrophy, but I did a little bit of research and looked up what spinal cord atrophy can look like in most severe cases as well as the less severe cases, and they all point to muscle weakness, lack of motor control, the lack of ability to properly support your weight because of the muscle loss. Basically, your body does not develop the way that it's supposed to be able to support itself throughout your life. And this is evident in the fact that he is confined to a wheelchair, or was confined to a wheelchair. I'm sorry. It breaks my heart that somebody died doing what they love, because I love riding roller coasters. I love going to theme parks. But if I died doing that, then I died happy because I died doing something that I loved. I'm not saying that this incident needs to be looked at in any other light other than a tragedy, because his family and his friends are missing that person. That person is no longer there, and I know what it's like to live knowing that somebody that you love, that you care about, is no longer physically there to enjoy things with you. I've experienced loss, I've experienced tragedy, so I'm not trying to take this lightly, but I am trying to look at this from a factual and level-headed, non-emotional point, which the fact of the matter is the ride was not malfunctioning. The ride did not cause the injuries. the rider assumed responsibility when boarding the ride. And I know some of you are going to say, well, what about the Universal employee that assisted Mr. Zavala into the ride vehicle? Well, one thing that we do know that was brought up multiple times, Kevin Zavala's girlfriend, who I haven't heard confirmation, but I've heard whispers that she rode it with him. She was seated next to him on the ride, is a Universal employee. So whether or not she is the Universal employee that's been alluded to as assisting him onto the ride has not been confirmed or denied. There's been no word regarding that either way. Now, the fact that they're claiming that a Universal employee assisted him onto the ride leads me to believe that she was the one that assisted him, which means that they're misrepresenting and misinterpreting an employee versus a guest. Now, if she was riding with him, she was riding with him in the capacity as a guest. The fact that she works there has no bearing in this case because she was not there as an employee. She was not in uniform. She was not there representing Universal Parks. She was there as a girlfriend having fun in the park with her boyfriend off shift, which happens a lot. That's honestly one of the best perks of working at a theme park, is having unlimited access to the park, barring any special event or offering out general public is allowed to visit with their standard theme park ticket. And the other thing is, for a fact, especially major theme parks, as inclusive as they want to be in not denying people access to attractions, one of the biggest rules that you get taught, and one of the things that's drilled into you the hardest, aside from just overall safety, specifically relating to guests who are differently abled, you are not allowed to physically assist them into or out of the ride vehicle without probable cause or reason. Meaning, especially loading into the vehicle, guests must be able to properly support and maintain an upright posture, or whatever the determined posture for the ride vehicle is for the specific ride, because not every ride you're sitting upright. Some rides you're placed in a laying position, some rides you're, it just depends on the attraction, but you must be able to support your weight in that position through the entire ride without assistance. And in order to determine whether or not you're able to, starts with the loading procedure. If you are not able to transfer yourself into the ride vehicle from your mobility device on your own, chances are you should not be getting on that attraction to begin with. It doesn't matter the age, the height. If you're not able to transfer yourself into your own seat from your mobility device, you should not be riding, because that is a strong indication that your body does not have the strength that it needs to be able to maintain the correct riding position throughout the duration of the ride. And the fact that it's still been determined that Universal was not at fault leads me to believe that the employee in question was in fact the girlfriend, which surprisingly is the only person that we have not heard from in this case. She has not released a statement. She has not said anything during any of the press conferences regarding what happened. And I feel that's because she knows things, and she's relayed things to Ben Crump regarding the situation. And he basically told her, if you want this case to work, you need to zip it. You cannot say anything. You cannot release a statement. You cannot post on social media. You cannot do this or that. Otherwise, the whole case crumbles, because she is the kingpin in this whole case. The fact that she has not said anything is something that needs to be brought up. The fact that she has not, I feel she's not been allowed to say anything by the legal team, because, again, if she does speak up, it will crumble the entire case that they have built against Universal. And I feel it, a lot of it has to do with what I just alluded to, with the fact that she was the one that assisted him into the ride vehicle, knowing full well that Universal and major theme parks do not allow guests to ride these types of attractions if they cannot physically transfer themselves from their mobility device into the ride vehicle unassisted. And for good reason too. Not just the fact that it proves that you cannot support your own body and you cannot safely control your own body, but also, actually that's it. I mean, certain rides are acceptable for guests with physical limitations and physical disabilities, and that's fine. Most guests that attend theme parks that grew up with or are learning about their new lack of abilities or different type of abilities understand that they may not be able to participate in the same things that they once did. But in Mr. Zavala's case, this is a condition that he was born with. And it had been stated by the legal team and Mr. Crump especially that Kevin Zavala was a theme park and roller coaster enthusiast. He loved going on rides. He loved riding roller coasters. However, there has been no mention of what roller coasters he has ridden, what types of rides he has ridden. But that doesn't mean just... He may have ridden some pretty extreme rides in the past, and that's okay. You're safe until the moment that you're not. And somebody with the spinal condition that he'd been living with, when you're doing extreme things to your body that it's not designed to do, like I said, these rides can affect people who don't have known disabilities, who are in good health, because you're exposing your body to forces that it was not meant to experience, especially for sustained periods of time or for multiple experiences. And unfortunately, Mr. Zavala found that out the hard way. Now, one of the things that frustrates me the most, looking at the fact that Universal has stated, and investigators and inspectors and tests have been done to prove that Stardust Racers was operating as designed from the start, is the fact that Mr. Crump keeps bringing up the fact that Kevin was in a wheelchair, yet to state that his disability was the cause of his death is not only insulting to him, but insulting with everybody with disabilities. Now, the fact that the ride did not malfunction, it did operate as normal. What other conclusion is there other than the fact that because of Mr. Zavala's disability and the G-forces and other types of forces that are experienced during this ride caused his body to maneuver itself in a way that made it possible for him to injure himself? I'm not going to get too much into how the vehicles and seats and restraints on these style rides work, because I posted a video on my Cali Coaster YouTube channel demonstrating and describing exactly this, because I have experience as both a rider and an observer on these rides. And this style vehicle and restraint system have been in use by Mock Rides since 2009, when they opened Blue Fire Mega Coaster at Europa Park. And this is the first known incident where it led to somebody experiencing a fatal consequence of riding this attraction. And to believe that Kevin Zavala's spinal cord atrophy did not cause his death is just plain ignorant in my opinion. And I actually posted a couple comments alluding to this point earlier today on other YouTube channels. I've been following Capture the Magic and Fire Medic Adventures 17 very closely, because they've been posting very descriptive and factual, without much commentary aside from the facts, since this incident occurred. So I've been using their channels as a resource for my information, and everything that they've been posting, every video that they've uploaded since this incident, aligns with my belief as well. The restraints are safe. The ride is safe. The safety warnings are accurate, but not following these safety warnings is what's leading to these incidents. And I'm going to say incidents because it has been brought to light that there were multiple incidents prior to this in which guests claimed that they were injured, they felt dizzy, they felt sick. But other than one specific incident that I'm going to talk on briefly, it was revealed that they had pre-existing conditions. And that is something that the safety guide signs at the entrance to the attraction state. Anybody with pre-existing conditions should not ride. And it lists all the conditions. And those pre-existing conditions those people rode with weren't specifically stated, but they were outlined on that sign. Now, this next guest who claimed neck injury back in April before the attraction opened to the public, I'm questioning the motive behind this. Because Ben Crump did go public and state that if anybody has any injuries that they experienced on the ride, please contact my office. That opens a floodgate. It's just like a law enforcement agency posting a tip line. Most of those tips that they receive are going to be unsubstantiated and driven by the same thing: money and greed. Because everybody wants to get paid, especially with the economic situation that we're living with globally. People want money, and they want money the quickest way possible, and that's what this guest received. I don't remember her name. It doesn't matter. The situation is what's important. She didn't come forward until this incident came out, and Ben Crump made an announcement to come forward, contact his office if you experienced anything similar or any type of injury on this attraction. He basically put his hand out and said, I got money, you want it or not? And of course, everybody's going to want money. Who's going to say no to money? So, Universal did ultimately end up settling out of court, which is standard. Because a court case and litigation can shed a negative light on something that doesn't need to be shed in the public eye. Also, it's the quick way. They basically gave her go-away money. Bottom line, they just wanted to shut her up, get her out of the way so they can focus on what's really important, which is figuring out what's going on with the Kevin Zavala situation. And like I said, if it's not a situation where it was caused due to his disability, then I don't know anything anymore. I'm an idiot. Because every other test and inspection has cleared the attraction and ride itself. There are multiple attractions created by mock rides in operation. Some are even actually that have not led to this type of outcome. If you want to check out what mock rides has to offer, I suggest looking up Europa Park. It is owned and operated by the company that runs mock rides. They basically use Europa Park as a proving ground and showcase for what they have to offer. They've got so many attractions out there. A lot have been operating since before the 2000s without significant incident. There was a fire at Europa Park before the 2000s that involved an attraction area catching fire. I don't really remember exactly what happened, but it was determined that, or not determined, but it appears that there was an electrical situation with some of the wiring throughout the facade. It was basically a mountain type structure that housed two separate attractions that interacted with each other in this facade. I believe that there was a short in some of the wiring that caused the mountain to catch fire. The roller coaster that was in there was destroyed. It was a roller coaster. This is only one of maybe a handful, if not less, attractions that were not actually designed and created by mock rides. It was a Schwarzkopf roller coaster that opened in the 80s that had a flume style water ride, log ride, intertwined within the mountain as well. As far as I'm aware, neither attraction survived. However, the park was quick to respond. They handled the situation, and that's the only major incident that's happened at that park in the last 40 years. And like I said, that park operates mainly mock rides. And if you want more information, go to their website. Go to Mock Ride's website. If you want to check out the coasters that they have there, so you can verify that I'm not pulling your leg on the fact that it's basically a Mock Ride's proving ground, check out RCDB, put in Europa Park, look at their coaster offerings. The only coaster that they operate that I'm aware of that is not Mock Rides is actually a B&M Hypercoaster, Bolliger and Mabyard, called Silver Star, and it's one of their marquee attractions. But the park is full of marquee attractions. You know what? I take that back. They do have a wooden coaster called Wudon that was built by GCI, but that park has been operating for a very, very, very long time. Mock Rides has been around for almost 100 years. From what I heard, they started out as a machine fabricator back in the late 1800s, and then somewhere after 1900 they started developing amusement style attractions and rides, and that's kind of where they've been ever since. They are one of the most respected and most trusted names in the amusement industry because of their history. It's hard to find any significant incident where Mock Rides did not create a quality product that led to tragedies like this. And like I said, the restraint style system that is used on Stardust Racers is tested and proven to be safe. So much so that other manufacturers started using these restraint systems in lieu of the more traditional, older, over-the-shoulder style restraints because it offers a safer and more comfortable ride experience. Now, some manufacturers that have recently switched to a lap bar only style restraint include Rocky Mountain Construction, RMC, Gerstlauer. Their newer coasters have the clamshell lap bar, which basically fits the same way that these do. Premier Rides, in the last few years, they started opening their extreme inverting coasters with a lap bar restraint, but they were first offered with what was called a comfort collar, which is a less cumbersome but more annoying version of the over-the-shoulder restraint. Now, these comfort collars are not an actual restraint. They're actually just designed to give you the illusion that you are using an over-the-shoulder restraint. Most people who have ridden these coasters with the comfort collar remember that it fits a little bit loosely, but that illusion of safety, for some reason, people feel that's better than nothing. However, for us enthusiasts especially, it's just an annoyance, and for operators as well, because that's just something extra that you have to double check to make sure is secured, even though you know that it's not necessary for the safety of the riders. The lap bar is the main safety device restraint for the ride vehicles, but you know the comfort collars are still there, so you obviously don't want it to go flying up and down during, you know, extreme direction changes and inversions and things like that. So obviously you want to make sure that it's clipped onto the lap bar just for that purpose. So another manufacturer that has recently gotten rid of over-the-shoulder restraints and changed to just the lap bars is on a blank, but I know there's others, and the reason being is the over-the-shoulder restraints add something that enthusiasts and the general public especially did not like during their riding experience, and it's the headbanging effect. Because some of the rides that have those over-the-shoulder harnesses are so bulky and stick up so high that during quick transitions and specific inversions, your head ends up doing this, to where you're banging your head against the side of those restraints the entire time, which makes it really hard to enjoy the actual ride experience. So I'm thankful that engineers and designers have come up with a restraint method that all but eliminates those bulky, uncomfortable, over-the-shoulder restraints. Now, that's not to say that they don't still have their use and their purpose. Over-the-shoulder restraints are crucial on rides where your body is not in a vertical pull position, such as, flying coasters especially definitely need those over-the-shoulder restraints, because you're placed forward. A standard lap bar is not going to keep your upper body from flopping forward even at the start of the ride, so those over-the-shoulder restraints are definitely necessary in those situations. Also, inverting coasters, kind of the same thing. You don't want your body exposed to those types of forces the way that it would be on a traditional sit-down coaster where the track is below the ride vehicle. I feel that we may come to a point where a simpler, less uncomfortable restraint system can be developed for inverted coasters, but as for now, you definitely want to have your upper body more secured. But on a traditional sit-down coaster, even with strong forces and inversions, the lap bars that have come out recently are sufficient enough, and it has been proven and tested on millions of riders on dozens of coasters throughout the world, where, like I said, this is the first incident of its kind on that style of vehicle and restraint system, where it resulted in somebody not returning to the station in the same physical condition as when they boarded. And that is something that ride designers and manufacturers and park operators do not want to see happen. Their goal is to ensure and do their best to prevent situations like this from happening. A guest that does not return from their ride in the same physical condition as when they boarded is not a returning guest. And from a business standpoint, that's just terrible business. You want guests to keep coming back again and again and again. You want guests to tell their friends, tell their family, tell the world how great of an experience that they had, how much fun the ride was. When a guest returns in a less than ideal physical condition after their ride, those things do not happen, and that is not what a park wants. Again, it's bad business. So for Universal to be able to go forward and say that after all the investigations, inspections, and testing that we've done, we are confident that we are delivering a quality product and want the public to enjoy it again, so we are going to be reopening this attraction, means that they know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about. My opinion on Ben Crump and what he's doing with this entire case, I feel he won't be satisfied until Universal is willing to spend X amount of time running X amount of tests until they find a problem. Well, the thing is, a lot of modern attractions, in fact, most modern attractions now run on computer automated systems. Most of them operate off of a PLC, a programmable logic controller system, which basically controls the sensors and other aspects of the ride throughout the duration. The thing with a PLC controlled ride is computers fail. That's the truth. Computers fail. And I feel like Crump wants the ride run until the computer fails, regardless what that failure is, my thinking is, okay, so there is a short or a sensor that goes bad throughout that series of testing that causes the ride to come to a stop with the train outside of the loading station. Probably, I believe the second launch is set up as a block brake system. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to operate multiple trains on the course at the same time. So I believe that is one of the designated borders sections. So I feel a minor fault causes the ride to stop, and the train stops in that launch section and cannot advance forward because of this failure. And I feel like Ben Crump is waiting for that moment so he can say, I told you it's not safe. However, those of us in the community and those who know how a roller coaster actually works knows that the fact that it stopped at that spot means that it is in fact safe, because it was designed as a place for the train to stop in event of any kind of failure on the ride with the system. An emergency situation, if the ride operator hits the emergency stop, that is one of the places the train is supposed to stop in. But Ben Crump, I believe, does not have the knowledge to understand that if it were to stop there, it is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And he would point to that as a failure and say, you need to tear this ride down. The train stopped in the middle of the course, regardless of the fact that to be stopped in that spot. So that's kind of how I feel where he's looking. I feel like he's trying to treat this the same as the Tyree Sampson free fall at Icon Park situation, which is completely different. You're comparing apples to onions at this point if you're looking to that as the same situation as this, because that situation had a very unfortunate outcome that was created by the park, by the maintenance staff, and by the operators. Now, the operators may not have been aware that the seat was tampered with and no longer within the threshold that it was supposed to be as far as showing the restraint locked or unlocked. That system was bypassed so that even if the restraint was in an unlocked position, it would still allow the ride to run because it didn't recognize that it was unlocked. And that's how that situation came about. And that's completely different than what happened at Universal Epic Universe on Stardust Racers. And I'm going to wrap this up because that's pretty much all I've got. If you want more, check out my channel, Cali Coaster, on YouTube. I got a couple more videos talking about the restraint system specifically. If you want to check out some of the information that I've been following, look to Fire Medic Adventures 17 on YouTube, as well as Capture the Magic on YouTube. Jared has done an amazing job with Capture the Magic. He's got a great channel. Check him out. Check out Fire Medic Adventures 17 if you want to see more park related content. I'm going to try to upload more content too. Hopefully I can find more uplifting and positive content to talk about. But until then, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. For your safety, remain seated, facing forward, sitting upright. Keep your arms, hands, legs, and feet inside of the vehicle at all times. Hold on tight and enjoy your ride. We'll see you next time. This is Load Check Dispatch Repeat, signing off.